We're going to be talking about savings.
Yes, in your debts.
This is it. We have a guest in the studio. Before we welcome her, she's from Safaricom Sacco. Siti Muga. This time, he's put down that gadget 1. Now he's looking at gadget 2, the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4.
You know, there are phones and there are
Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4s.
Exactly. So, you're talking about a technological companion of mean repute. Serious companion. Do not laugh at a snake because it walks on its belly.
Do not laugh at a snake because it walks on its belly.
Yes, that's not a description of the Z Flip phone. No, this is a proverb from Lesotho. Yes.
Right, it's a good one. Elizabeth Mudogo is the vice chairperson of Safaricom Sacco. She joins us now in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year. Happy 2023.
Yes.
And thank you for the invite.
Is it a happy one for you?
Yes, it is quite awesome.
Right.
2022 has had its own very many things that were happening, the elections, coming to the end of the COVID pandemic. So 2023 happens to be a very bright year for us.
We always begin a new year, on that positive note.
Yes.
This one is going to be the best year yet.
Excellent.
Yeah.
But
we need to do something to make it the best year yet, right? Can't just have to say, this one, this year, and then you sit and chill.
But all the signs are there. All the signs are there. For the first time, today I was just telling, today when I was coming in, we now can hug quite easily. Let's start with that. The pandemic is besides us, at least for now. And the future is bright. We are all optimistic. We can now go back to work and everyone is, enthusiastic about the new government in place and how we can be able to make things work for the better of all that we do.
Yeah. From your Sacco, first of all,
yes,
let's talk about Safaricom Sacco. For those that don't know about it, how many members do you have?
So thank you very much. And Elizabeth, again, is my name, Safaricom Sacco. I also lead the BDC and I also sit in the FNA.
Right.
Okay.
BDC,
Business Development. Business Development.
Yes.
Business development and also the finance committee, which I'm excited to be in there. So Safaricom Sacco, we take pride in having 15,454 members as per yesterday. Okay, out of which 10,920 are active members. Active to mean they're actually taking loans actively and they're actually saving actively and they're interacting with the Sacco very actively. Yes. This has been a rise for the last 3 years. The rise of, we have a target. So we have a target of 3,000 members every year. So this specific
3,000
year,
new members.
Yes, 3,000 new members. So this past year we hit at the highest of 92% in terms of new membership, and we are excited. So 2023, we have been shooting, when you look at the trend, started with 35%, 74%, we've hit 90%, and we are rising.
Safaricom Sacco, 15,000 members.
Yes.
So
all
of
of
them
work for Safaricom?
No.
Thank you. That's what I'm going to ask. So I'm going to ask you,
That's
so it's like every year Safaricom employs 3,000 new people.
No.
Yes.
Actually, 30% of the Safaricom Sacco are staff. Safaricom staff.
30%
yes,
only?
Around 30%. The rest of them are and yourselves. And I know by the time we leave this space, you'll have joined the Safaricom Sacco, which is very easy. You actually just join in online, Safaricom Sacco. How do I join? And you're in.
Okay.
So we now have bonds. We have Nokia. We work with Nokia. We have different companies that we work with. We work with Mezzanine and a couple of other companies who have actually joined us, and they're still open to be able to join us. We also introduce specific entries for individuals who are interested in joining, and it's very simple. It's simply online. You vet, verify, and you're in. The saving times are very easy. And maybe just to mention, we have received a couple of awards for having been 100% digital. 100% digital. Thank God for the pandemic, which had disadvantages, major disadvantages.
What does 100% digital mean?
You can actually join and I don't have to see you physically. I don't have to see you physically.
Join,
interact,
apply for a loan,
apply,
repay your
and
loans,
everything, and repay.
Pay your monthly contributions.
And there are couple of products, a variety of products. You can start with the mobile loan, you have the long-term loans, you have the mortgages, you have the we also had introduced a new loan called Pamoja, which basically meant we are able to work with you during the difficult times. We have the long term, we have, junior accounts for the children, and we have for chamas, and we have everything. Let me say, we have everything for everyone.
Why are you sounding like a bank?
But we are an investment. We are encourage you to save and we encourage you to borrow.
Right.
Savings and
everything
credit.
to do with money. Yes.
It's a financial institution only
Yes.
regulated by somebody else.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We've seen the growth of Saccos
Yes.
in the country. Let's say in the last 20 years, right? So initially we had those giant Saccos, like these ones we've taken out several pages in the paper today.
Yes.
Mwalimu Sacco, the giant one.
Yes.
We've seen other Saccos.
Yes.
And then there have been Saccos that started, they were small, they've become big. Other Saccos that started, maybe they amalgamated into others, they joined others. What is this telling us about the Kenyan society and the saving culture? If you basically just specifically look at the number of Saccos that we have and how much money has been saved in the Sacco movement in Kenya.
So maybe we can start off with the very main one. Our lovely president, President Ruto, is very interested in the bottom, the bottom up. When you talk about the Hustler Fund, just getting access to those people who are unbankable.
Yeah.
Those people who cannot go to the bank. And when you mentioned the bank, I smelled at you. Those people who cannot go to the bank. They don't dress well. And they don't have that English. The English that
of loans.
Yes, the English of loans, and they do not have enough collateral to be able to support those loans. So to that extent, we have the Saccos that are coming in to be able to meet their financial requirements at from the place where they are today, something that is accessible to them, as simple as having even mobile loans or even loans that are very easy for them to be able to, repay, very easy in very good terms. But the most interesting bit of it all, the Saccos have a very interesting interest rate. Now, maybe one thing you need to remember, Saccos are a very interesting financial engagement or financial outfit. It is the investor, the Sacco member is the investor, and he's still the customer. So you invest and you still borrow. So whatever you invest, whatever decisions you make in your investment determine your borrowing capacity and your borrowing capability. You're seeing other institutions coming up, and before they're able to repay their customers, they have to borrow money from the bank or borrow from elsewhere. And tangible or profitable Saccos are those that can be able to meet their requirements by borrowing and, giving out the loans, as well as, providing back to the investors in a more reasonable manner.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, with everybody, look, because this is the thing, that here we are, and the trends just seems to be that in as much as we know what the government would like to happen, we are seeing a situation where folks are a bit worried about what the economy is going to say to us this year. We've seen the indications of what 2022 was ending and then coming into 2023. And people are worried in terms of what's going to happen. What are we saying then ought to happen with the little shilling that you have? How can you stretch it, save it, grow it?
One of the things I was reading through before as I was preparing for this interview, the only way to be able to beat this inflation that we have, these are difficult times, the only way to be able to beat this inflation is to save. You have to save. And saving is a discipline. You have to be that disciplined. When you get 10 shillings, you have to be disciplined enough to put something on the side, intentional. It is not easy, but you have to put, that's the only way you can be able to meet inflation. And right now, if you want to do the investment, you have to be able to increase on your savings capability so that you can be able to meet the pressures of life, especially for this specific year. But it's a bright year. When you walk out there, when I was coming in this morning, people are actually livened up and they're actually looking for work activities to do. We have the insurgence of, online businesses that are now picking up, and people are actually getting very active to make sure they can make an extra shilling. My advice will be, for that extra shilling that you make, please have the discipline. And it starts from very simple things. Have the discipline of putting something on the side. As I was chatting this with my cousin, Bruce, he was telling me, how do I even save if my stomach itself is not filled? Yeah, and that's the question that keeps coming up. You will never have enough, but you can always have that simple bit that you have the discipline of putting something on the side so that you can be able to take care of your future. Pretty much like a farmer. In Safaricom, I also handle the agriculture. You have to be like a farmer. You plant and be patient enough to see it mature and be able to come into life. Yes.
The thing is, when you plant, you don't just sit back.
Yes.
You've got to tend to that crop.
Yes.
Make sure, you're weeding,
Yes.
you're watering the plant, you're taking care of the plant, bringing it to the point of maturity, flowering, and removing getting the fruit out.
Yes.
With this saving, what is it that you do so that the saving then becomes something that you harvest at some point later?
Okay.
And it's of greater value, like you said, beating inflation and all.
So I'll tell you, maybe from a lifestyle perspective within Safaricom and how we have been able to create that capability for our members. First, you are able to join in and you put in a deposit, okay? So that you can be able to safeguard on your interest and you can be able to have consistency in savings. One of the disciplines specifically for people who are on a paycheck, who are the minority, especially if I look at the Safaricom Sacco, you must have the discipline of having a standing order. Have a standing order that is intentional towards you increasing on your savings. Now, when you increase on your savings, it also gives you the liberty to be able to get more in terms of the loans. We have a couple of loan products. You mentioned this in January has 91 days.
Yeah. By tomorrow, there'll be 95.
There'll be 91 or 95 or thereabouts. School fees is coming. But once you do the savings, you have very many propositions and products that you are eligible to as a member to be able to improve on your lifestyle. One thing for caution that you also need to put into place, you do not borrow for entertainment. Borrow for investment. Borrow for investment and keep at it. Just like a farmer, keep at it, keep at it, keep putting at the side and have that intentional discipline of putting something on the side consistently for you to increase on your capability to be able to borrow.
Do you know how difficult it is to actually maintain a lifestyle that includes entertainment? You know how difficult the discipline you require to actually have that consistency. So you're telling me that I cannot borrow money so that I can have a good time with my money?
That you have to pay back.
You have to pay
yes,
back.
you're going to pay back, but surely.
You'll have enjoyed.
Should I not have the freedom of thanking my body and thanking my being
But the question
for having
will
this
be,
ability to have the money?
Yeah, but the question will be, how many times do you entertain yourself? You need to have that discipline of keeping something aside. And one of the other disciplines that come through, and just speaking to your entertainment bit, you should be able to pay yourself. 3 things.
Pay myself.
Pay yourself. Make sure you pay yourself, and you have that consistency. If you put it at the end of the month, every month end, there's 10% that I have to pay myself. You take that 10% and put it on the side, even before everything else. You put it on the side, and you must have a budget. This year, if there's anything that you need to resolve to do, you must have a budget, put something on the side, and also be able to reward yourself. You've been working hard.
So,
But then rewarding yourself, is it an everyday affair?
You should. Sorry, go
please
ahead.
go ahead.
See, I know I'm being facetious, but it's deliberate. Because when you talk about saving and you talk about putting money aside for that rainy day, it's a concept that in and of itself is good. It is a desirable concept and it's desirable to be implemented. But then how does that speak to the reality that very many people face? Because even what they have cannot be put together to even get them to not live, survive on a daily basis. So how then, when you actually can't survive with what you have, not live, do you then put money aside? How?
So that's a tough question. It's a very tough question. but it's the reality.
That's question 1A.
Can I respond to that?
Respond to 1A. Yes, then I'm coming to
1A.
Yes.
And it comes in the form of a question.
Yes.
Do you at any one time, besides having that scarce resource, do you at any one time have something coming along your way that you had not planned for? Number 1. And number 2, do you at any one time able to make the decision to live a little bit lower than where you are today. To mean that those scarce resources, are you able to align your resources to make sure you're able to meet your standards with the means that you have, so that when you live at the means that you have, you're able to put something on the side? Because one of the challenges that come through, we are all striving to live a fancy, and it's natural, a fancy lifestyle. So you're always struggling to make sure these ends meet, and they hardly ever meet. But if you just take one step back, have a budget, and the budget gives you a reasoning of where you are at any one time and what you can be able to kick off or kick out.
You see, we may be speaking at cross purposes for this reason.
Yes.
I am looking at what I would like to refer to as an average Kenyan whose earning does not go beyond 10,000. So if you ask them to live a lifestyle that's below the one they're living, then they have to be underground. They've already hit rock bottom. There's really nowhere to move. They are solidly there. And the only way they survive, if you look at their lives, is they live on credit, meaning there's somebody, they're always borrowing and lending. And why am I saying this? Because many such Kenyans also have many children. Okay? So unless you're asking them to sell their children or give away some of their children, all right, so that they have fewer children to feed. Now, I'm being facetious, but there's a point I'm trying to make.
Of course.
I'm saying that the conversation about saving and the conversation about putting something aside for this group of individuals, how do we communicate it so that this little that they have, which is hardly adequate just to keep them alive, keeps them alive, and yet at the same time they're able to put something aside? That's really the conversation I'm asking.
Okay. I'll attempt to answer, especially when you boxed it on the 10,000, where the majority of the people fall, 10 and 15,000. Within the Safaricom Sacco, we have a couple of people that come in, and the requests are adverse. The one that is a major one, within Safaricom Sacco, we build propositions or products that are insight-led. And what do I mean by that? One of the requests that come through, I'm interested in improving my life. I'm not, because it's a pyramid, it's a cycle. They go through the same cycle, you do not have enough, and you're always borrowing and borrowing. One of the things that we do intentionally is to advise. We have aggressive knowledge transfer sessions. And I'll give you one typical one. For example, if you have a piece of land, okay, so we give you that advice. You have a piece of land and you feel you can be able to do irrigation to be able to improve on your lifestyle. Now, just to be able to do irrigation, you need water, a lot of water for that matter. So we come in and support you by giving that entity of a water tank. I'm not able to afford a water tank. The water tank costs 60,000 or 20,000 or 30,000. I'm still earning the 15,000. So we break it down and give you a capability for you to be able to get that water tank, which you are able to pay in small bits and pieces. And the Sacco, if you are to try it, it has very, very easy conditions, very tangible. There are people at the back who are able to listen. We have a support line where we are able to listen to you. And we're able to give you very flexible terms and work with you the entire journey. You can even do a restructuring. Now, there's only one way to break. The 10,000 is actually not enough today, and it has been a cycle. But you have to make some intentional decision to be able to stretch a little bit more, cut out on something more. I am in a church today where we are fasting. We are fasting and praying. You cut out on some meals and you're able to bring 1, 2, 3 things together. And I know you're asking, how much do you save from the 10 or 15,000 shillings? But you're able to put something aside, have that water and be able to take care of your crops. That's just one example.
Do I hear you to be saying that when you have members who are in this never-ending vicious cycle, the idea of saving is tied to a plan that will improve your life.
Yes.
So
we transform the life.
Difficult as it is, you're telling them that this thing that you're doing will enable you to get out of this particular situation that you are in.
Exactly.
So difficult as it is, it'll be even more difficult when you save. But at the end of it, now the end of it is 3 months' time, 6 months' time, 1 year, whatever the period of time, you will be able to get out of it.
You'll be able to have tangible results. Okay. And I'll also give you a typical example. This December, I was privileged to be part of the team, something that we have been looking forward to giving out land. to our Sacco members, those who had bought. Now, they had bought at a very reasonable figure. And when you look at it, I am a beneficiary of some land that I bought for 150,000 shillings. It's now retailing for around 2 million thereabouts. I was not able to pay 150,000 shillings on the spot. I was able to pay in little bits and pieces. But as it is right now, if I was able to trade it, I can actually be able to make 2 million. It requires that discipline, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Actually, all the Sacco products that we have, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. One of the things that we encourage our members, please don't put money on the side, under the bed or in the bank or somewhere. Invest that money so that you can be able to borrow more and you can have good facilities. We have mortgage products now, and we have reasonable mortgage products that cut across, both from people who have very small amounts of money, and we have very interesting payment terms. You can repay within 15 years. We have a beautiful mortgage product where you can be able to pay up to 25 years. What that means is you have a home ownership program where instead of paying that rent, which is a cycle, you can now start putting in the money and be able to own a home at the end of it all. You can be able to start putting in a development loan and be able to develop yourself, buy your piece of land, do your construction, and you work with you the entire journey.
Is there a limit as to how low you will go when it comes to buying a house?
In terms of...
Meaning, you see, when people think of houses, they think of mini rooms. What if I just want to buy a unit, which is a room?
So depending on the amount, we have loan structures that start even from 3 million. 3 million could mean you can actually have a room. But it depends. Why are you looking at that room?
3 million is a house. I mean, the 3 million room, what on earth does that room have?
But what it would mean also, you can even take not only a mortgage, you can even come back and take. We have these easy projects that are coming up where we're doing studios for students, and they're like 2 million, and we're getting into partnerships with a couple of these engagement homes, and we're bringing our Sacco members close to be able to take up.
Erica, are we going into a break?
Yes.
Okay.
It's time for you to take Minute Maid.
Okay.
The kind of questions you're asking, you need it.
You need a Wusa moment.
No, but he's very specific. He wants to get that one room, and you can use it.
Yeah,
for
you
even
told
for
him that
business.
at the end of the conversation he would
Yes.
have been signed up to this, so he needs to make sure he's
And you're
getting this.
often.
This 3 million shilling room that you people are talking about, you'll have to expound on it.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yes, the National Treasury has told us 2023, just brace yourself. It's going to be a tough economic year. But at the same time, we must live. And we must live also thinking about the future. And that's why Elizabeth Mudogo is here from the Safaricom Sacco. She's the vice chairperson. And she's telling us the importance of saving. Whatever your lifestyle, whatever your income, just think about having that discipline of saving. And the word is discipline. CT, you're asking something.
I was, huh? You say that you have partnerships with organizations.
Yes.
Okay. What if the organization is, say, a housing circle that people have formed? Do you have association with such institutions?
Yes, we do, to an extent, because we come in to support in terms of financing. So you'll find they're interested, they have the constructions, but they do not have the capability of the finances or the muscle to be able to support the members. So we come in and support the financial entity in terms of giving the customers the financing. And I'll give you a typical example. Like internally within Safaricom, we have Safaricom Investment, which is our brother. It's our brother.
Strong brother.
Yes, it's a very strong brother that actually broke off from the Safaricom Sacco, which basically handles housing and land and those kind of matters. So we partner together where we provide financing for their capability, but we also have within Safaricom Sacco the capability of doing mortgaging, 15 years, 20 years. And now that you're talking about housing, we also have other propositions for vehicles where we can still take a loan at very flexible rates. And I think Safaricom stands out for the lowest, one of the lowest rates in the market. We do from 8% to 12% per annum, which is actually very friendly. Today, I got a notification. You have seen what's happening, and brace yourself, indeed it is. When you look at the financial sector, especially from the banks, they've actually given an alert already. The interest rates are going up. This is an opportune moment where you are the investor and the customer to be able to come in and build your own capability. Our interest rates are still standard. We are not increasing the interest rates because we are interested in transforming the life of our members to better their future.
It's interesting that you say that, and one of the things that you said earlier, talking about the fact that the majority of the investors at the Sacco are unsalaried folks. That means they're running their own business or they're doing something whereby, clearly they're unsalaried.
Yes.
So, Elizabeth, the truth of the matter is that we cannot run away from the fact that a lot of people are really going through the ringers now.
Yes.
That it's really tough.
Yes.
That to find an extra, my God, 100 shillings sometimes is a real struggle.
Yes, it is.
And here we are saying that even I'm playing basketball, a coach used to say that when you've been fouled on you on the free throw line, you have opportunity to make that point. But that's probably when you're tired. You're really, really tired. And that's when you must dig to be able to score that point. So it's like making the same parallel to say that even when it's very, very difficult, find that extra shilling to save it because you know that it's going to count for a point later. But so here we are saying that even folks who are doing business, you're doing a business whereby maybe it's giving you a little bit of profit at the end of the day.
Yes.
And regardless of what it is, take a little bit of that and put it away.
Yes.
But I know that the question for a lot of people today is,
that
if I'm coming to the Sacco, or even if it is there, will you accept my little?
Yes. And you're quite open. We're actually very open to have those discussions. I was talking to, and we have the young people who are now joining the Safaricom Sacco, very young. And I think one of the reasons was because we have become totally digital. And one of them, we had a face-on-face, and he was very interested. Does it mean when I join the Safaricom Sacco, I can actually be able to get some money to increase my business? The good news is, once you join the Safaricom Sacco, after 3 months we've vetted and checked, we can be able to give you something small. After 6 months, you are entitled to get a long-term loan, which now speaks to your putting in something small, whatever small it is, and we are open. You can actually be able to put in something small as far as we have a minimum amount that you can be able to put in, and the minimum is 3,000 shillings for you to be reasonable. The secret of it is the more you put in, the more you can be able to borrow, because you have a multiplier effect. After 6 months, we have loans where you can take up to 3 times what you have been able to save, up to 4 times what you've been able to save, and at times up to 5 times what you've been able to save, depending on the product itself. When it comes to a mortgage, you are only entitled to get a mortgage after 1 year. When you have been working with us for 1 year and you're able to check on your repayment capability, then you're able to give you a mortgage. But the discipline now comes in. You should be able to put in something small because of the multiplier effect. Remember, you're the customer and you're the investor. So we are able to work with that, investor capability. And one of the things I was surprised you didn't ask about people asking about Sacco's work on a guarantor model, where you're able to guarantee each other. We have also now introduced a collateral-based proposition where you're able to guarantee yourself and you have the collateral that you can be able to put in to safeguard what you're able to pick it up. Yes.
One of the things about SACCOs that would be big is on corporate governance.
Yes.
So yes, we have the Sacco Society Regulatory Authority that is up there regulating and oversighting the operations of SACCOs. But at the Sacco level, there's a board.
Yes.
Is it a board of management or board of trustees? It's a board of what?
Board of directors. We have a board of directors.
There's a board of directors.
Yes.
And then there's the management.
Yes.
And the staff of the Sacco.
Yes.
Now, in a digital Sacco such as yours, how are AGMs held? How are board members elected? How do you do the corporate governance and transparency and openness to all your members?
And it's good you brought this up. Very interesting. We are at a very interesting season within Safaricom Sacco when we're preparing for our AGM coming up in 1 month. So we are doing our AGM in the next 1 month. So we intentionally have a yearly AGM, a general meeting, where you bring in the members, both virtually and physically, where you're able to discuss. And that remember, the members are the ones who make decisions of the board. We have of the management of the entire running of the Sacco. So we have the board of directors led by, and we have Safaricom Sacco. This time round, we have a very productive and a very supportive board led by Paul Msava. And we have and it cuts across. So we have both Safaricom staff. As long as you're a member, you're entitled. And the election, we have a minimum criteria in terms of criteria that you need to be able to meet to be able to become a director, among them certificate of good conduct, in terms of how much you have been able to put in as a member, because you also have your stake in there, and in terms of decision making and the interest. And one of the other things that we check on is what you're actually bringing in. Once you join the board, we have now the management, where you have the CEO, you have the head of departments, you have an audit committee, we have a supervisory board that is intentional, and it seeks to be able to counter check on the resources that we have. And how we do our governance, we have regular sessions. On a minimum, we have a monthly meeting as the full board, and then you have the different committees. So you have the business development committee, which I lead. We have the F&A, the finance committee. We have the credit committee. We have the audit committee. We have the supervisory committee, which meet on a minimum once a month, and then you meet again once a month to be able to discuss on the issues that are coming up, how to do the advisory. And you also have external teams that come in to be able to check. We have an audit team that checks on how you do your operations, and we also do a lot of benchmarking, both inward and outward, to be able to increase and also improve on our governance. And we have seen a lot of progress, especially in the last 3 years that I have been sitting in the board. I'm actually open for re-election this coming AGM, and I know the members are listening to me. I am vying again. Mimi nasimama, and I'm praying that you give me another opportunity. We've seen a lot of growth and the transparency that comes with it. The digital era has given us that capability of having virtual sessions. We overload our members with knowledge and information and trainings. We have training sessions every Thursday. We share our reports even before the AGM, which is mandatory, and it's actually from a regulatory perspective, where we share the numbers and we also give an explanation. And we open lines for them to be able to communicate. We have a support line where they can always be able to call. We have iConnect. Most of the people that we have are tech savvy, so they'll be able to chat. We have the Facebook that is active, and we have a customer service line. We have the IVR, interactive voice response, where you're able to still talk to someone, a warm-bodied person at the back, and you can still walk in if you are interested to be able to get
everybody
support.
warm-bodied? Anyway, that's
Question.
the second bit of my question is with regards to the guarantor model.
Yes.
Okay, so that's Saccos are actually based on that.
Yes.
That you go and take a loan and your fellow members will be your guarantors.
Yes.
Now, many Saccos are formed by people who come from a homogeneous community.
Yes.
You work in the same organization, so you know one another. You know where to find each other.
Yes.
Now, in a Sacco such as this one, where you've opened it up to members of the public.
Yes.
If this morning City Muga joined Safaricom Sacco,
Yes.
for instance, and he wanted to take a loan after some time,
Yes.
he doesn't know anybody else.
Yes.
He joined virtually. He has been getting his statements virtually. He's been making his contributions virtually. He has no one that he knows. How would he get guarantors?
So that's one of the things that actually led us into bringing in a different proposition where you're able to guarantee yourself. However, one of the things that we've also seen, as unique as it is, we've actually gone global. We have close to 3,000 members who are in the diaspora, including one of our board members, actually operates from Safaricom Ethiopia, Pius, and he asked me to give him a shout out on this session. Hi, Pius, but he works in the diaspora where you are able to still interact. So one of the things that we've done, we also have a portion where you indicate you are referred or recommended by someone or something like that, and you're able to make that cycle go on. The other thing that I mentioned, we have other closed sessions. We have knowledge transfer sessions where we also create forums where these members can be able to talk and interact and can be able to know each other and guarantee each other. But besides that, the bottom line also, we also have capability for you to be able to guarantee yourself, and you're able to use your shares or a physical title or something like that to be able to guarantee your financing. But bottom line, within 6 months, you are actually entitled to come to the long term. The beautiful bit, and I see him questioning, does it mean if I come in, I don't know if it's part of your question, I can come in and dependent on how much I ask, dependent on my shares, I can be able to get any amount. The rules are very clear. If it's a 3-time multiplier, you actually qualify to that. We have some reasonable amount. We do not have liquidity issues. We have some reasonable amount you can be able to finance and support you.
Pesa iko. Pesa iko
tax. In fact, we're looking to be able to lend out. One of the things that we are pushing, you need you to be able to borrow, because our interest rates are very, very reasonable. We need you to be able to borrow so that we can pay you back something that is tangible and you can be able to enjoy it, be able to improve on
Essentially,
your lifestyle.
the interest that you earn is also works
Yes.
as dividends for your members.
Yes.
Where else does the Sacco invest?
So we have invested besides in the members.
Yes.
We also invest in the central bank. We also invest in the bonds. We also invest in the money market, and we also invest in. We had invested in land. We are slowly moving out from the land.
Why?
The land is tricky. It's very, very tricky because we are not experts on
Why-
land.
why
So we're
is it
given
tricky?
that. It's tricky. The whole process around acquiring, maintaining,
Title
paying,
deedling, yeah.
checking the titling. It's a process on its
I still
own.
don't understand why it's tricky, because it's just a process.
It is a process, which is tricky. So to that extent, what we have done,
In this country.
what we
It's a
have
tricky
done,
process.
what we have done, we have intentionally separated that and given that mandate to the Safaricom investment.
Who,
Basically, within Safaricom Sacco.
what's the relationship? That's where I was heading between.
Safaricom Sacco investment hived off from Safaricom Sacco to be able to take care of land and housing and such like physical feature activities.
Where does it get its capital from?
So they do they're in business.
Right.
They are doing business, and I'm not able to speak much about the Safaricom investment. However, for the members, they are open to be able to come to Safaricom Sacco for financing if they want to be able to get the loans, to be able to buy land and be able to get the housing. So we are open to them.
There's something that is always mentioned when people talk about savings
Yes.
and how wonderful savings are and what they will do for you in the future. And, and I'm sure they do all these things.
Yes.
But if I look at our shilling and the strength that it has, no, let me put it more accurately, and the diminishing strength that it has, if I put my money in the bank or if I put it in a Sacco, 1 million shillings now will not be worth 1 million shillings next year. It will be worth less,
In a bank.
even in the Sacco. Because the bank will tell me they'll pay me an interest. What will they pay me? If I put money in a Sacco, you will promise me dividend. What percent? And you will tell me it depends on the investments, blah, 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 but the minimum is this. Perfectly understandable. What I'm getting to is this. Tricky as land is, land is the one thing in this country whose value always increases. I haven't heard. If someone knows, they should tell me. A place
Any
where...
land that's depreciated.
Yes, I'm yet to come across it, and yet the shilling on its own depreciates in value. So, tricky as it is, has the Sacco tried to find a way of making it less tricky? I know you've said, okay, we
have the
the
Safaricom
investments, yes, but so the fact that it's there, has it become less tricky?
So when it's there, our mandate sticks to lending and encouragement of the savings. And I like the way you're putting it, and especially when you mentioned that land which has depreciated in value. There's one, especially around Baringo area, where the land is actually submerging. So the land is actually losing out. When the water is coming up, the land is losing out.
So now you own a lake.
Yeah,
Yes.
it forms a lake. But maybe just to give you a
Opportunities.
distinction, you own part of the lake. But there is an opportunity. When you put in money in the bank today, the money sits safely in the bank. You do not earn anything tangible. Within the Safaricom Sacco, it's very clear, it is transparent, you will get a dividend. And for the Safaricom Sacco, I can guarantee the dividends that you're going to give out this year are far much better than what we did last year because of the governance that we have put in place, again, led by the very supportive board and the principles that we have been able to put in place. So one of the things that we've also seen and are very keen on is how do we reinvest this money that you give us to be able to give us more. Land has been very funny, but we are moving out. Safaricom investment is there to be able to support that. But it's a good insight. We are not putting it under the bucket. We are not putting it under the
You know,
carpet.
where I'm going with this.
We are not throwing it under the bucket,
Oh,
but
no,
I pick that as an insight
I understand
for us to
you.
be able to
You see
check.
where I'm going with this is, I'm actually trying to say that land actually isn't tricky. It's individuals who deal in land who are tricky. So,
Thank you for pointing it out.
well, yes. So if you have this investment arm, is there an investigative arm as well within the investment arm? Because then how do you suss out and ensure
For due diligence.
Yes, exactly. So that you ensure that if you're going to invest your clients and your members' money in that piece of land, you have reduced the risk as far as is humanly
The risk
possible.
completely.
As humanly possible. It has to be humanly possible.
I take it up as an insight from our side in terms of how we can be able to recoin that. But as I mentioned to you, we are not experts on land matters. Maybe it's something that we need to look at for us to be able to meet the needs of our members, just to be able to see if we can be able to invest and have a separate entity that looks at the whole due diligence. And I'll give you a typical example. When we were doing the Kisumu land that has been there for a while, the whole issue around going in, taking the title, there was a succession issue, handling the succession. The terms have changed a little. How do you meet those change of terms? You go in, there's a cleanup in the land sector. You go in and the files are sitting in some corner and there's only one person who can access. We are not experts. So it's taken a little bit of a toil, but we are in it and we've walked the journey together. So I take that insight very strongly. It's something that we can consider as a prospective board to see how we can be able to support our members.
Does SASRA have regulations on how a Sacco can invest members' money?
Yes, they do.
And does it put a cap? For example, it says if you're going to the money markets, you can only invest 20%.
Yes.
And such and such.
Yes, there's a regulation. It's very clear, especially in the money market. This is only how much you can be able to invest. And it's for our good. It's even for the members' good. You could find yourself, you have invested every money. So when
On
members
one
come
side.
in and they want to be able to get a loan, they can't because you are not liquid at all.
Yeah.
So the regulations in terms of the percentage of the amount that you can be able to liquidate and the amount that you can be able to put in investments. And for every proposition that we come up with, we have to pass it through SASRA for approval before we share it with our members.
I'm asking that because as the regulator,
Yes.
they'll of course be faced with some SACCOs where who've gone into investment into areas where it's hard to get the cash out. And then the members' frustration starts
Yes.
piling up and have issues. So that's why I was asking, what kind of regulations does SASRA have in place to ensure that you're protecting members' savings while at the same time ensuring that the Sacco is making money to be able to keep lending to members, besides making money from the interest from loans to members?
So we have regulations that we stick to them. One of the things that I have learned in the Safaricom board when I joined, that those governance issues that you have to stick by. For example, there's something we call the PAR that you always have to make sure you check. And now we have put in the discipline to start checking on it early in advance. There's the IC ratio that you have to make sure you're in compliance so that even before you do the AGM, you have to get an approval also from SASRA on how much you can be able to give out, how much you can be able to hold. The liquidity ratio is something that is very critical that they monitor. The beautiful bit, what I have seen the Safaricom Sacco, we also have the nomination committee and we have the regulator coming into our sessions every now and then to give advice. A lot of training. I have gone through numerous financial training just to be able to make sure we keep at best on what the Safaricom Sacco does and how we can be able to support our members to move it to the future. As you said, savings is a very difficult task. It requires discipline, and the best we can do is to support our members, give our members the best. We put our members first, so it's the best of their interest that we put their money where they can be able to earn, some dividends and some rebates out of it.
Yeah, so even just looking at the times in which we are currently sitting
Yes.
in, so just saying, okay, from the experiences, here obviously, from the experiences, the different people who've come knocking on the door, what would you say is what you're telling folks today? That forget about having something right now where there's nothing. And all right, maybe there might be something coming in, and maybe you would argue, well, you're in the position where there's nothing because you haven't had best
Yes.
saving practices. What would be your advice now going forward and saying, okay, guys, we are starting this thing again. This is how to go about it.
And thank you very much for that opportunity. At Safaricom Sacco, we have a product again. We call Mletendani. So we bring them in. So my call to action, whatever small it is, as long as you're consistent in the monthly contribution, the minimum we take is 3,000. As long as you're consistent, we are able to bring you in. Mletendani, our hands are open and we are willing to listen and you're able to restructure and you're open to be able to discuss with you on how we can be able to improve. If you're on the 10,000 and you want something smaller, we are an insight-led organization and we are very deliberate about that. We listen to our members and come up with a proposition to be able to accommodate them in. And it's very simple. You just go to the internet, Google Safaricom, Sacco, how do I join in? And you are able to join in, and we are happy to be able to onboard you and be able to walk the journey with you to improve on your saving culture and to improve on your life and improve on your investment. Remember, you need to be able to be deliberate about putting something on the side for you to be able to invest. And it's a trade-off between consumption and investment. You have to be able to do the balance. Yes.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for coming today.
Awesome.
And like you said, it's the beginning of the year, and we have to keep talking about this.
Yes.
Until we see that the culture of savings is improving.
Yes.
Well, we still have a lot of money that has been saved into Saccos and
Yes.
other areas. So we just keep pushing that conversation.
Yes.
Let me tell you about Showmax. You know about Showmax. You've
Yes,
had
I do.
Showmax.
Yes.
Showmax.com.
Yes.
And Showmax on your TV.
I
or
have
on
it.
You have
I
it.
have it at home.
Which one do you have? Do you have the one that you can actually watch live news, live programming?
No. I have the one for watching the movies. I have young people in my house. Yes.
So they watch movies,
Yes.
series,
They watch movies. Yes.
kids programming,
programs. Yes.
very many
drama, yes.
originals, Showmax
Yes.
originals.
Yes.
A lot of drama. You can also get to watch live TV as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, you can tell the young people if they like football. For example, it's football season.
Awesome.
Our Formula One season is about to begin in about a few months' time. They can get also to watch that. You just need to upgrade kidogo too.
And
Shape something.
I have had the
And then
300.
just go, you just need to upgrade into that is able to give you live sports, and they can watch live sports. You too.
Awesome, and you've got me covered. And before we leave, and maybe just a shout out, I was told by my team members, I have to say hello to them, the entire board, the members, and the champions, specifically the champions, Safaricom Sacco. You guys are doing a splendid, fantastic job, bringing and sacrificially, they put in very many hours to make the Safaricom Sacco a success. Paul Musava, Faith, Cheum,
Wote.
Alex, wote, salamu,
Yeah.
salamu.
Salamu
Asante.
zimetoka hapa hadi kwenu, including Pius in Ethiopia.
Yes.
Good morning.